Kelsey Mitchell is currently in a lot of trouble. The circumstances surrounding Kelsey Mitchell are only becoming worse. On social media, her sister posted, "These two players can win some games without Clark, but Clark can't win a game. She said, single game without them." Downplaying Caitlin Clark's significance and claiming that Kelsey Mitchell should be the one spearheading the attack. It appears really eerie. Get your people under control. Kelsey Mitchell, you must understand that nothing you say should minimize Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was attacked by Kelsey Mitchell's family, who said she was overrated and that she couldn't win without them. I can continue to be called all the names in the book by Clark's insane fans, as everyone knows, including you who support the My Fever team. These two players can win a few games without Clark. But without them, Clark is unable to win any games. It's something that is getting out of control entirely. Caitlin didn't react dramatically. She let her game speak for itself. Kelsey is crying now that her family is being attacked. Please leave a remark below and give Caitlin some love if you're a huge fan. One league's face is Caitlin Clark. One member in this league causes the owners to visualize dollar signs whenever she enters the building or a room. Only one individual is present, and her name is Caitlin Clark. It all began includes a Facebook post from Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Mitchell's twin sister, rather than an envious fan or a sour critic. Kelsey publicly disregarded Caitlin Clark's contribution to the Fever's victory in a now viral exchange. On social media, her sister posted, "Since I couldn't uncover any indication of that Twitter account, I deactivated it after this piece was published. I agree with the post that said that without players like Kelsey, Clark wouldn't be able to win any games." On Facebook, Steve Brown says Clark's irrational fans can continue to be crazy. "We all witnessed who carries My Fever team, including you. And we all know who the offense should be run through. Okay, call me every name in the book," said Aaliyah Boston. "The offense shouldn't be run," the message bluntly declared, through Clark. Caitlin Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Mitchell's twin sister, was reportedly mentioned by her sister. She said that they should really be carrying out the offense. Downplaying Caitlin Clark's significance. Kelsey Mitchell and called Clark's fans with delusions. I can continue to be called all the names in the book by Clark's insane fans. These two players can win some games without Clark, whether you like it or not. However, without them, Clark is unable to win any games. The fan base is being rocked by this tweet right now. Delusional supporters of Caitlin Clark might remain angry and call me every term in the book, it says. But whether you like it or not, these two players can win some games without Kayla Clark. Kelsey doubled down, writing, "And I had to agree. Also, you guys carry My Fever squad, and we all know who the offense should be run through." "I have to agree," says Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell, I got to agree. Now, I'm not sure if this is, I heard one person say that this was her mother. I heard another person say, no, this is similar to a sister or anything. That one phrase, "I'm glad I'm a twin," started a controversy, and to make matters worse, Kelsey Mitchell isn't just any old relative. She's a former Division I player, a baller, and someone who understands the game. Given the sentiments made by her family, it was frightening to wonder what Kelsey Mitchell was saying behind closed doors, if Kelsey felt so comfortable expressing her views in public. I don't get enough credit on the team, and if you're a family member, you back your family members like 1,000%. Kelsey Mitchell's followers and analysts immediately surmised, figuring that these weren't isolated sentiments, but rather family group chat conversations that were made public. Family members expressing their opinions in public is the issue. At that moment, things took a drastic turn, and fans quickly took to social media to criticize the disrespect, pointing out that Caitlin Clark had methodically altered the course of the Fever franchise. But rather than reversing it, more Mitchell. Friends and family members joined in, liking and reposting critical remarks about Clark. One family friend even referred to Caitlyn as a glorified role player, saying that Caitlyn Clark as a role player will only make people yell back at you. They will compare her to Antonio Brown and share extremely offensive information that has nothing to do with basketball. The comparison between Caitlyn Clark and a man who posted Antonio Brown's repulsive tweet about her was not merely trivial, it was personal. If this occurred with Caitlyn Clark, anyone connected to her, such as JG, has probably laughed at someone at Caitlyn Clark's public had had enough of the boyfriend's brother calling Angel a bad basketball player and then attempting to call Jada to Jaime by using derogatory names like Jada G. Some started to wonder why this was happening when the story changed from family members defending their own to jealousy disguised as opinion. Now it's absurd when some hold Caitlyn Clark responsible for the situation when Clark was posting monster stats. I told you guys, dude, a lot of these women didn't like Caitlyn Clark. Relatives like in her general circle, right? Selling out arenas and pushing the team into postseason contention. It became apparent that their family doesn't truly care about them either. It began to appear as though Caitlyn Clark's fame had revealed more serious insecurities following this. Her sister took to social media and canceled her Twitter account, saying if Kelsey's family had something to say, why were they targeting the one person who brought real relevance to Indiana? Tweet was made public since I can't discover any indication of that Twitter account. This wasn't a simple argument. It started a heated argument in the locker room, and analysts wondered if Kelsey's annoyance was leaking into her family. If that was the reason why Clark wasn't getting any help on the court when Caitlyn was struck hard by defenders, then where were her teammates, and why wasn't anyone intervening? There might be some questioned whether the family split was only a sign of a physical breach in that locker room, which makes me wonder, are we beginning to understand why she hasn't received any assistance from her teammates? Bigger problems simmering in the background. Suddenly, a private rivalry between Kelsey Mitchell's family and Caitlyn Clark became a public feud. With the basketball community watching every moment, I want to blame Caitlyn Clark for everything, no matter how small, because Kelsey Mitchell's situation is just getting worse right now, and it's getting out of control. Let's not get down on ourselves. Level. Caitlyn Clark never once spoke directly to Kelsey Mitchell's family. Even as the commotion outside the locker room increased, she didn't have to. She did what great athletes do. Let's talk facts. The Fever has changed since Clark came, and prior to her arrival, Indiana was a bottom-ranked squad. She allowed the data to speak louder than any Facebook post could. Feed her. Winning only 5 games in 2022 and 13 the following year. Despite having Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, the team had a reputation for being mediocre under Mitchell's leadership alone. I can see them getting upset in the New Yorks while she was out. Therefore, I don't see them making the playoffs. Are we running with this? It's time to start discussing how CC is wrecking the Fever momentum with her and Minnesota in the playoffs. What are people talking about, man? Why are we continuing this story, dog? The team was only winning 6-2, 8 games a season on average, and the audience was becoming disenchanted, was almost undetectable. The Fever weren't just losing, they were worthless. Then Caitlyn arrived, and with Clark playing, the team soared to 20 victories in her first season. Something that had taken Caitlyn Clark is this team's superstar. Under Mitchell, they achieved 4 full seasons in a row. Clark not only made the squad better, but also raised the entire franchise. The offensive rating increased to Athie began selling out gyms. Merchandise flew off the shelves and the WNBA's ratings climbed, all thanks to Caitlyn, who reached a historic high, topping out at 106, the best in franchise history. Don't sit up here and act like she's the second coming of Jesus because she can shoot some 3-point shots. You weren't selling out arenas before Caitlyn arrived, and you weren't increasing viewerships before Caitlyn arrived. The Mitchell family's assertion that Caitlyn couldn't win a single game without Kelsey, however, quickly faltered, because the Fever were 8-5 with her and 4-8 without Clark. That allegation is displayed on my screen right now. These facts don't lie. No, they're not winning games without Caitlin Clark, and no amount of social media spin could change the truth that they were a losing club without her. And a playoff candidate with her. Alter that. However, Caitlin did more than just win games. She did so under circumstances that no rookie has ever experienced. In almost every game, she was attacked, elbowed, shoved, and cheap-shotted, even though her teammates, including Kelsey, watched calmly as she suffered hits on the floor. Clark remained focused and never retaliated or pointed fingers in one standout. Effort, she scored 29 points, threw out 13 assists, and pulled down 5 rebounds. She also made triple-doubles, hit deep threes, and dished out no-look assists like a seasoned pro, even if he misspoke. I'm positive he wasn't attempting to imply that Boston or Kelsey could succeed without the other two, as it is unquestionably untrue. And that was only days after Kelsey's sister made those demeaning remarks. The repercussions went beyond statistics. But Caitlin's message was clear. I'm not here to argue, I'm here to lead. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a response. Harsh reality was also revealed by Clark's presence. Some players were simultaneously enjoying and resenting her fame. Kelsey Mitchell was suddenly in the national spotlight. Millions of people were analyzing the statistics. So here's someone with whom she communicates online. Bria, Kelsey Mitchell's sister, says it's time to start discussing how CC is destroying the momentum of the Fever. She also had access to endorsements. Chances never before available. But instead of embracing that and thriving, her entourage chose jealousy, and in doing so, they exposed their own insecurities. Even Mitchell's former supporters began to lose. Their cool.1 comment nicely captured what she had accomplished without Clark and how much she had gained. Since Clark's arrival, before Caitlin arrived, no one knew who Kelsey was. They played 13 games with Thayer 8-5. And they've played 11 games without Caitlin Clark. They're 4-7, and they've had a more difficult time, which I would think is mainly due to their schedule. They are either 3-1 against the Atlanta Dreamer, 2-1 against the Liberty. Their strength of schedule is roughly even with Caitlin Clark. The Fever's chemistry began to wane. But Caitlin stayed the same. She continued to show up, continued to produce, and continued to be the reason Indiana was at last relevant. Now her. Family's acting like she's Steph Curry. It was brutally honest, but harsh. When Kelsey Mitchell's family said Caitlin couldn't lead, she didn't just prove it. She fought back by carrying a franchise on her back and daring anyone to deny it, rather than by using words or clapbacks. The people who doubted her appeared smaller by the second. Listen, Chelsea Mitchell and Kelsey Mitchell, you and Aaliyah Boston won 13 games last year. And that's why Caitlin Clark stood tall, victorious, and unconcerned when the dust fell. You have Caitlin Clark? When Kelsey Mitchell's family decided to make their feelings about Caitlin Clark public, they did more than just cause a stir. They set off a fire. What followed was not merely a backlash, but a reckoning. And in the middle of it all was Kelsey Mitchell, who was suddenly torn between her family's resentment and a fan following that had already selected its hero. As Chelsea Mitchell's remarks appeared online, the Fever fan base quickly to explode. This wasn't just some nameless burner account. It was a former Division I player's twin sister, thereby weakening the most precious asset Indiana has had in over 10 years, which caused supporters to wonder about everything. Had this animosity been festering all along? Is Kelsey truly supportive of Caitlin? The fan base was split between those who believed that if this was from Kelsey Mitchell's sister, then this is how Kelsey Mitchell feels. Fans didn't hold back in the comment sections of YouTube and Instagram. More importantly, could this squad survive with that kind of hidden tension? People's demands that Kelsey check her people exploded in her mentions. They wanted togetherness, not drama. And above all, they wanted respect for Caitlin Clark, the athlete who restored Indiana's reputation. But instead, they received a locker room filled with side eyes and whispers. Caitlyn had been getting fouls hard throughout the season, and her teammates had been silently watching her ethic without resistance or retaliation. Given how they've treated Caitlin Clark, you would think that a teammate would suddenly throw a right hand out of the blue, but there was no altercation. Those interactions now appeared purposeful and intimate, and Kelsey's silence over her sister's remarks only served to corroborate what many fans had been afraid of. People started to wonder, why hasn't Kelsey said a word? Implying that the split was worse than anyone had realized. How come she hasn't openly denied the disrespect? Was it because she consented, or because she was unable to manage her own group? In any case, the harm was done. Get your folks under control, Kelsey Mitchell. You must understand. Say anything to minimize Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell has been in a lot of trouble lately. It seems that her sister made a remark in which she disparaged Caitlin Clark's twin sister. Kelsey Mitchell significance and stating that Kelsey Mitchell should be leading the offense. It's looking really eerie. Fans and one of their own veterans lost trust in each other, as did analysts who Kelsey's friends and extended family started connecting with, and even sharing hateful content about Caitlin. And Mitchell, who had always protected her, started to acknowledge that the optics were awful, dreadful even. The anger had escalated from petty to venomous. And one family friend allegedly circulated offensive postings that had no place in a professional sports discussion. Comparing Clark to Antonio Brown, one relative even posted that CC is destroying the Fever's momentum. So it's time to start discussing how CC is destroying the Fever's momentum. Caitlyn remained silent, played harder. But the Mitchell circle wasn't finished. Let that sink in. The player who brought the team to national prominence was accused of being a liability, suggesting that the team was better off without her. That wasn't just petty, that was fans remembered the figures, especially since Kelsey Mitchell had been with Indiana for 7 seasons and the Fever were making the playoffs for the first time in 7 years, with Caitlin Clark as the only factor that altered. Prior to Caitlyn's arrival, the squad had never achieved 13 victories, consistently finishing last in the standings. And ticket sales skyrocketed as soon as Clark was selected, changed. Sponsors called. People took notice for the first time, but Mitchell's circle's reaction was envy rather than thanks. It became so terrible that there was a lot of conjecture about Kelsey's future with the team. Many people think this is her last season in Indiana. She has a 1-year contract, and her departure feels like a blow to the public's faith. As you recall, Kelsey Mitchell was a free agent during the offseason, and for a long time, I had the feeling that she actually came very close to leaving the Indiana Fever. The free agency bonanza of which, and if some fans even felt that the front staff had promised too many players, including Mitchell, that this was their squad. You are a free agent worth anything. And if you want to establish your brand, you want to play next to Caitlin Clark? However, those assurances suddenly appeared hollow and the animosity continued to grow. As Caitlin dominated headlines and highlights, and then the emotional collapse occurred. Although Kelsey never explicitly addressed the conflagration, according to sources. She appeared stressed during games, had shorter post-game interviews, and some even called her checked out. When questioned about the dynamics in the locker room, she is a prolific scorer, but her assist and rebounding are not what I like to see. Her responses were evasive, cautious, and almost practiced. It wasn't the assurance of a leader walking on eggshells. It's cornered by an uncontrollable controversy, and Caitlin continued to climb while Kelsey was falling apart. Clark remained calm, focused, and unfazed even as the noise level reached deafening proportions. Because they witnessed the double standard how other athletes may react angrily, offer justifications, or remain silent when their own people mistreated. Caitlin fans only grew to admire her more for it. However, Clark consistently stood up to it. By the end of it, Kelsey Mitchell's family had done more than damage to her reputation. She was evolving into more than just a rookie. She was becoming the embodiment of tenacity. They would help cement Caitlyn's the quiet, determined leader, the unwavering star who believes she is the team's superstar, the one who was beaten, insulted, and still led the team. In the meantime, the Mitchell family was left alone, calm, and perhaps getting ready for her last chapter with the fever, while Kelsey was left in the center. Her story crumbling under the weight of facts, receipts, and fan anger. These players need to improve. For example, they need to ensure that their family members aren't tweeting hateful things about a teammate, because once you go against the player who saved your franchise, there's no turning back. This is Caitlin Clark's squad now, and no amount of resentment or backhanded posts can alter the fact that the franchise is being carried by someone else. Kelsey Mitchell's family believed they were standing up for her, but all they did was reveal the truth that the world already knew. Caitlin provides the words while others speak. As others stir drama, she continues to create history. Additionally, as the dust settles and the roar subsides, there is only one name that remains: Clark. Caitlin, if she is riding with you, finally, drop a perfect score in the comments and inform the public of who's on your side. Your